January 4th, 46 BCE, Julius Caesar stood on African sand, watching 16,000 enemy warriors surround his 1,000 men. He had come to Africa hunting the last remnants of Pompey's faction. Now he faced annihilation in the barren hills outside Ruspina. Picture this: 1,000 Roman soldiers, red cloaks vivid against yellow sand, completely encircled by Numidian cavalry. War cries echoed off rocky outcrops like thunder. The mathematics were simple and terrifying. 16 enemies for every Roman. No reinforcements within 50 miles. No escape through the swirling mass of horsemen who moved like desert wind, appearing and vanishing behind dust clouds that turned the afternoon sun blood red. Caesar's situation was more desperate than it seemed. The civil war should have ended with Pompey's death in Egypt, but Cato the Younger and Scipio had rebuilt republican resistance in North Africa. They commanded 60,000 men, including King Juba's legendary Numidian cavalry, warriors born in the saddle who could loose 3 arrows before a Roman could draw his gladius. The morning had started as routine. Caesar needed supplies for his undermanned legions camped near the coast. African grain was scarce, water scarcer, and his men had been eating half rations for weeks. The local terrain favored his enemies completely. Unlike Gaul's forests, Africa offered endless plains where cavalry could maneuver freely while Roman heavy infantry suffocated. Caesar's intelligence was catastrophically wrong. His scouts reported a few hundred raiders. The reality? King Juba's finest cavalry, 16,000 strong, commanded by Labienus, Caesar's former lieutenant, who knew every Roman tactical formation because he'd helped perfect them. The trap had been months in preparation. Cato and Scipio understood Caesar's weakness. He needed victories fast and spectacular. They'd offered perfect bait, a foraging mission Caesar couldn't resist leading personally, bringing just enough men to seem formidable, but not enough to survive what was coming. The Numidian cavalry struck like a sandstorm, appearing everywhere, yet never close enough for Roman steel to reach. By the second hour, Caesar's 1,000 men were trapped in a nightmare that European warfare had never prepared them for. Enemy horsemen rode in perfect circles around the Roman formation, staying just beyond javelin range, loosing arrows in coordinated volleys that fell like deadly rain. Each circuit brought fresh riders while exhausted horses rotated to the rear, an endless cycle of harassment that Roman heavy infantry had no answer for. Labienus commanded the swarm with intimate knowledge of Roman weaknesses. He feinted charges that forced Romans into defensive squares, then wheeled away at the last second, leaving Caesar's men gasping in bronze armor that trapped heat like furnaces. Every false attack drained energy the Romans couldn't spare. The killing began as the sun reached its peak. Numidian javelins found gaps between shields with surgical precision. Men who'd survived Gaul fell to weapons they couldn't see coming, launched from horseback by warriors who could hit targets at full gallop from 50 yards. Then everything changed when the Numidians revealed their true trap. What Caesar had taken for random harassment was actually herding. They'd been driving his formation southeast, away from the coast, away from any hope of retreat. The Romans found themselves in a natural amphitheater where cavalry could attack from elevation, while infantry struggled uphill through loose sand. Caesar realized he'd been out-generaled by his own former student. Labienus wasn't just commanding Numidians, he was conducting a symphony of destruction using Roman predictability against Roman strength. By the 4th hour, the mathematics of attrition were impossible to ignore. Roman arrows were finite, water running low, and the African sun was turning armor into instruments of torture. Caesar's Germanic cavalry proved utterly inadequate, their heavy mounts and European tactics useless against Numidian mobility. Then Caesar did something no Roman general had ever attempted in open battle against cavalry. Instead of maintaining the traditional square formation that made his men sitting targets, he ordered something never before attempted. His 1,000 legionaries would form a single extended line, 4 men deep, stretching nearly half a mile across the valley floor. To every centurion who heard the command, it sounded like suicide. Extended lines were for fighting infantry, not mobile horsemen who could concentrate force against any weak point. The transformation took 20 minutes of agonizing vulnerability. Roman sentries wheeled and extended, while arrows continued to fall. Caesar moved along the line personally, his purple cloak making him a target, but his presence kept exhausted legionaries from breaking. But Caesar had seen something in the Numidian attack patterns that even Labienus missed. The enemy's greatest strength, their ability to concentrate overwhelming force, required them to mass together. Massing horsemen created vulnerability where maneuver space was limited. Caesar's extended line would force the Numidians to attack in small groups, negating their numbers, or concentrate where surrounding hills would restrict escape routes. The first test came when 2,000 Numidian horsemen charged the Roman center, expecting to shatter the thin line. Instead, they found themselves funneled between rocky outcrops into a killing zone where Roman javelins could reach them. The legionaries didn't try to hold ground traditionally. They gave way in calculated retreats that drew horsemen deeper into terrain favoring heavy infantry. When the Numidians wheeled to escape, they found themselves trapped between converging Roman wings that closed like jaws. The slaughter lasted less than 10 minutes, but changed everything. Horses bred for speed stumbled on loose rocks. Riders who'd terrorized Romans all morning suddenly found themselves within gladius range of veterans who'd been waiting hours for this moment. 300 enemy horsemen died in that valley. The extended line created multiple simultaneous combats, preventing Labienus from coordinating his forces. Instead of one overwhelming attack, the Numidians fought dozens of smaller actions, where their mobility disappeared and Roman training became decisive. Roman cheers rose from the valley floor. Numidian war cries faltered. Labienus watched his perfect trap transform into Caesar's killing ground, and understood his former commander had rewritten warfare's rules again. The decisive moment arrived when Caesar recognized Labienus had committed his reserves to reinforce the failed valley attack. Caesar spotted a gap in the Numidian encirclement, 300 yards wide, visible only for minutes before enemy mobility could close it. He wouldn't just break the encirclement, he'd shatter it so completely that psychological shock would multiply tactical success into strategic victory. Taking 2 centuries of his finest veterans, men who'd followed him from Gaul through civil war, Caesar led them personally toward the gap. His purple cloak streamed behind as he ran, making him visible to every soldier on the battlefield. The sight of his commander charging on foot transformed exhausted legionnaires into an unstoppable battering ram. The impact created a sound witnesses described as thunder wrapped in screaming. Horses reared and fell as gladii found their bellies. The collision lasted 3 minutes, but those minutes decided the battle. The breakthrough created a cascade effect. As Caesar's assault force punched through, the extended Roman formation contracted like a closing fist. Instead of maintaining defense, legionaries began advancing simultaneously across the entire valley. What had been desperate defense transformed into coordinated offense that caught 16,000 Numidians completely unprepared. Labienus watched his tactical masterpiece disintegrate. Entire squadrons that had been circling like wolves suddenly broke and fled toward distant hills. Within minutes, organized resistance collapsed into individual survival as 16,000 warriors decided discretion trumped valor. Caesar ordered immediate pursuit. Roman centurions that had been fighting for their lives suddenly found themselves hunting enemies who'd terrorized them all morning. The pursuit lasted until sunset. By day's end, Caesar's 1,000 men had killed nearly 4,000 Numidian horsemen while losing fewer than 200 of their own. Bodies littered the valley floor like dark stones scattered across yellow sand. Labienus himself barely escaped. Among the dead lay chieftains from 6 tribes, the political coalition Caesar had shattered along with their military formation. King Juba's finest cavalry, warriors who'd never known defeat in African warfare, lay broken across the battlefield. The victory meant more than immediate tactical success. Caesar had proven Roman heavy infantry could defeat superior cavalry numbers in open terrain when properly deployed. The psychological impact rippled across North Africa. Tribal chieftains reconsidered their allegiances. The aura of invincibility surrounding African mounted warfare cracked, replaced by renewed respect for Roman innovation. Within 6 weeks, 3 major cities opened their gates rather than face the commander who'd turned impossible odds into tactical doctrine. Thapsus fell after a single day when Numidian cavalry refused to charge Roman formations. Utica surrendered without resistance. The tactical innovations pioneered at Ruspina became standard Roman doctrine within a generation. The extended line formation appeared in subsequent battles across Africa, Syria, and eventually the Germanic frontier, proving crisis-born innovation could become systematic doctrine. On January 4, 46 BCE, Julius Caesar watched 1,000 Roman soldiers prove that mathematical impossibility yields to tactical genius when desperation transforms into calculated audacity. They faced 16,000 enemies not because they were braver or stronger, but because they were better led, better trained, and better able to adapt traditional methods to unprecedented challenges. They proved impossible odds become possible when tactical innovation meets disciplined execution. The greatest victories emerge not from superior numbers, but from superior thinking applied under pressure that would break ordinary men. Ruspina stands as eternal proof that human will can overcome mathematical certainty when applied with precise understanding of capabilities and limitations. One afternoon's fighting changed more than tactical doctrine. It preserved Caesar's African campaign, disrupted enemy strategy, and demonstrated once again that audacity combined with discipline could achieve mathematical impossibilities that lesser commanders would never attempt. The battle where 1,000 Romans crushed 16,000 warriors remains to this day one of history's most brilliant examples of tactical genius triumphing over impossible odds.